Okay, we're good to go.
Fantastic. Thank you, Crystal. Okay, so welcome everyone. Welcome members of the public who are watching online for this, the August 23rd edition of the Township of South Glengarry's Environment Committee meeting. So everyone received a copy of the agenda prior to the meeting. So if we could begin with approving the agenda, or if any folks have anything that they want to have added or changed.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Angie.
I had sent you an email about one of the roads for road ecology and wanting to know when that road is up for rehabilitation next.
Was that County Road 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Add that in.
Okay. So we could add that to maybe why don't we add that to other business? Now I do see your email that it was earlier today, right? I didn't get a chance to forward that to staff, so I don't think we'll have, like, it'll be new for them too. So I guess we'll add I guess under, should we make a new bullet before 6? We'll have a new number 6 saying new business.
Yeah.
And I'll put it road ecological passages. How about we'll call it that? Sorry, road ecological practices. And we'll talk about that at that point.
Got it.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, so seeing no more comments, if who would like to move the agenda? Thank you. Moved by Mike. Who'd like to second? Colleen, thank you. All right, moving of the agenda. Is anyone opposed? No, perfect. Great. So we've approved our agenda. Now we have the minutes. Sorry, I'm just getting a quick message here from a member of the public. I guess who was waiting for it to go online. We were a few minutes late this afternoon, so I'm just going to let them know that we are online now. Sorry about that if I'm looking away. All right, so next we have the approval of the minutes. Again, those are in the package. So I know I had one item that I thought I was going to suggest maybe be changed. Did anyone else have any items that they caught? No?
Yeah, and I'll update the minutes as per your email, Stephanie, so that the minutes reflect what you suggested.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if everyone would have had a chance to see that. So it's for the June 17th minutes under new business for the leaf and yard waste. I said I reviewed my notes, I re-reviewed our discussion from last time, and I think that first sentence is, you know, we did discuss about having more leaf and yard waste, but it was in the context of making sure that it goes to like organics or composting, as opposed to more leaf and yard waste that just goes to the landfill. So I think that was that one change I'd proposed. Okay, so if there's no other changes, we can go ahead and approve the minutes. So if I could have someone move the approval. Thank you, Colleen. Seconded by Angie. Anyone opposed? No? Okay, great. So we've approved the minutes. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so then that brings us to the presentations for the much anticipated waste composition study. Over to you, Sarah.
Yay. So again, just confirming everyone, I've got the right screen shared. Should say residential waste composition study.
Yep, looks good to me.
Awesome. So at long last, we have our data. So this, I'm just going to The full report is in the committee folder. This is just pulling out the South Glengarry stuff because within the full report, we're hidden behind an ID code, let's say. So our data includes for the fall of 2020, winter 2021, spring 2021, summer 2021. So those were our 4 collection periods. And I believe they went out, oh, I've forgotten, a week or 2 weeks every day and sifted through our garbage and recycling. So across the board in South Glengarry, we have our kilograms per household per week. So an average in the fall of 12.62. And you can see we trend down. So we produce less waste in the winter, a bit more in the spring with spring cleaning, and lower in the summer. And we were wondering if the fall was high because perhaps leaf and yard waste would have counted towards this non-accepted materials. So non-accepted materials is our garbage. And these this summary doesn't differentiate between if it was in garbage or recycling. So this is all in, put to the curbside, kilograms per household per week in South Glengarry. And we break down a bit further. So just within the recycling stream, we have our paper, dark blue, paper packaging is this orangey color, plastics is light blue, gold would be metals, and then recyclable glass is light gray. And then the dark gray is stuff in recycling that should not be in recycling. So we are actually doing fairly good. We have, about an average of 2 kilograms per household per week in our recycling. Jumping to garbage. So in the garbage, there's not a lot. So the same colors apply. We do have a bit of recyclable material being put out at the curbside with our garbage, but it's not an overwhelming amount, which was a bit surprising to me. So I definitely we're hoping to see if we do the study again, that with our weekly recycling, that this volume would decrease. Like that's a hope and dream. But really, we also want to bring down this, 9.51 kilograms per household per week, because that's quite high. And again, this is just garbage, this slide that goes out. I believe, so we aggregated across all 5 years of the waste composition study that was put out. This is just a naming convention. So are we in the north or the south of the province? A distinguishing letter in the year of the report. So like, if you look at all the waste composition studies on CIF's website, we're obviously in year 5. Now we looked at just the rural collection areas, since the composition study encompassed, up north, which is vastly different from us, since they're collection depots and major urban areas. Like I suspected that I saw the city of Ottawa maybe in one of them, but who knows, because we're all behind an ID. So here we are. Oh, I didn't knock out. Anyway, here we are, South Glengarry. So the amount of total waste, we're pretty good compared to our competitors. I'm really not sure what happened with these folks. They're way up at the above 20 kilograms per household per week, but we're on par. Definitely room to improve. We do have a few folks a little lower, but we're not out of the ballpark. When we looked at our percent of garbage and total waste, we're a bit high there. So I think South Glengarry could, maybe make some efforts to drop down, but the rural municipalities seem to be fairly similar across the 5 years of data collection, sorry. And then percent of garbage and recycling. And this is where we might be able to, like we're high there. So that might be caused by our single stream. I really don't know. And again, these folks, whoever they are, but they always seem to be a bit off the charts. We can look at percent of recycling and garbage, and that was out that little bit at the top of our chart. So we have not low, but we're certainly not on the high end. So South Glengarry is doing fairly well at minimizing our recycling and our garbage. Opportunities for improvement, but it's really nice to see that we're not, way high compared to other rural municipalities that were part of this sample. And we've got a little quick summary. I think this is the last slide. Let me just, a little quick summary slide saying that we are below the average for total waste. We're above the average for total percent garbage and total waste, below the average for percent garbage and recycling, and below the average for recycling and garbage. So when we put something out, we're fairly consistent. I don't know, it's just kind of interesting. I don't know if the committee wants me to go back to a particular slide or would like to discuss any particular slide. Just let me know and I'll pull it up.
Angie, go ahead. You have a question?
Sorry, Sarah, did you say it was residents and not was the businesses and farms as well?
No, they were all, this is all residential waste. That's a good question.
And my question, sorry to kind of ask you to go back, is so we, like, Southglen is SA5, but so does that mean we're just looking at the data that we're looking at is just like this past year's data, or this is an average over a longer period of time? And the comparators that we're being compared against to, like, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like those are chosen at random. Like, I'm assuming more, I mean, that this is happening at far more municipalities, the sort of analysis across the province. Like, how do they choose who to compare us against?
So we pulled it, so every year, about 5 years, maybe 6 years ago, 7 years ago now. I'm not sure how this study did intake, but there were 5 collection years and we were in year 5. So there were, can you hear the train going by?
No.
Okay, good. So there were 4 collection years previously to that. And it seemed that every year had 2 or 3 cities, 2 or 3 rural municipalities, and 1 up north. So a total, I believe, of 5. And when we went through, we pulled out all the rural folks. So in our collection year, there were 2 rural municipalities, 4. So the year before, there were 2 in year 3, 1 in year 2, and 2 in year 1. So there will be some discrepancies since this was 5 years before our collection, our data was collected, and they may have made improvements since then.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of so we've been doing this for several years now. So do we have like our trend lines over like the last few years? Because this is like what we're looking at here is more just more so the last year, right? Or the last year of data.
So we only collected these 4 seasons. So we have 1 full year of data.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been talking about waste composition since I've been on this committee, but I guess I misunderstood.
No, it might have been ramping up. And then, I mean, fall 2020 was 2 years ago. So yeah. You have been talking about it for a long time. We've just been waiting for the data for a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the next step then? Like, is this going to happen again? Do we have to ask for it to happen again? What normally happens?
So I believe that this particular study is at its end. They may come out again and offer something like this, but I'm not sure we would get in if there are other municipalities who weren't able to participate who wanted to. I believe if we wanted to have a follow-up waste composition study, it would be something that we would need to engage in our own. But if anyone has any other information on that, that's like Mike.
Just to comment on this. This slide is, I mean, this is kind of the telling, right? It's everything together. The combined numbers are I'm going to say interestingly high. Not the end of the world, and we of course don't have any others to compare it to, so we don't really know. But the weeklies, 12.62 in the fall, and back in the spring to 11.92. That's, I mean, it's interesting. I would think that's probably yard waste at both times of the year. Would be my guess. Would be what's driving that up. But I guess you can also look at just sort of some general cleaning. But yeah, I find that slide quite interesting.
And we'd have to double check because we don't always do 2 leaves a year. I think we've been a bit inconsistent, I think, or maybe someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but Colleen, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, was this done like countywide or was this just a township thing? Can you just remind me?
So I have hopefully shown this website from the Continuous Improvement Fund, and they funded waste composition studies right here. I'll just back up. So year 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we're in this 5th year, and it was just South Glengarry. There may be other townships within our county buried somewhere in here, but since we're all hidden, I'll just show you what it looks like. We're all hidden behind rural collection area. Hang on. Show me
All
something.
those IDs or whatever.
Yeah, behind IDs, large and urban A, it's unless they out themselves, we don't know.
Okay, I just
So-
thought it would have been interesting to see like where some of the other townships were at.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So they may very well be one of these other rural comparators, but we really, like, we're south, so maybe anything with an S in front of it and not the N's. They'd be a bit higher up north than we are.
There might be public waste composition studies for the other municipalities.
Just to let you know as well, on the Resource Productivity and Recovery Authority website, there is data there regarding municipalities that are similar to yours. And they record the amount of waste that they've collected, amount of recycling, and so on. And it gives a pretty good breakdown. I believe that the township of South Glengarry would actually be category 7, which they call Rural Collection South. And in there's probably about 25 different municipalities in there that you could look at to compare and look at. I think it also has the population data here. Sorry, I have it open. I'm just jumping back and forth. So it has a number of households on here and so on. And then it says total residential waste generated, and it does it by kilogram per capita, of course. And then it gives you the total for the year. This is data that's provided by the different municipalities, and they fill in a form and it goes to the RPRA and it's posted on an annual basis. 2021 is not posted as yet. I think the data call is provided to RPRA in the spring, and typically by December, January, around then, the latest data is up to date on the website.
Sorry, Jennifer, what's the name of that website again?
It's the Resource Productivity and Recovery Authority, RPRA. I can send it around in an email afterwards.
Okay. I guess that's a voluntary, like the data that's being provided to them is voluntary, or?
Well, it tied into what funding the townships would get. So I guess that's sort of the enticement for their recycling programs. So South Glengarry used to do it, I think, back in up till 2017 or thereabouts. And I'm not sure why we haven't done it since then. But
We submitted our data call this year.
oh, okay. So then
Yeah.
we should get an updated one. That'd be great. And we should be able to compare you them to the others in our group.
Awesome. Okay. Anybody have any other questions on the waste composition study? Yes, in terms of moving forward, sorry, you went off mute.
Oh, I did. I was just going to say that any municipality that had an organics program had their organic waste also captured within that chart. So if you flip through any of the other, it's just kind of neat. There is a lot of organic waste within our garbage. So if you flip, I would imagine we would have a similar amount of organic waste to the people who were tracking that. So if the committee flips through some of those old CIF, the full reports, they will see that the bright green. It's really neat.
Yeah. So we know we have high organics in our garbage, or you're saying similar ones to us have similar townships have high organic?
We did not request the organic count, I think, because we didn't have a program. But if you flip through, you'll see a couple municipalities that do, and it's staggering how much organic waste is in, the garbage.
Yeah, well, I guess that's consistent with what Food Cycler presented to us way back when they first came to us. I think they said something like 40%. Maybe I'm getting that number wrong. But... So from staff, is there something for this waste composition study? Is this something that you would like the committee to? Because we just we're sort of looking at it sort of for the first time. I mean, you did give it ahead of time, but I mean in terms of our the context to it. is there more comment you would like from the committee, or is this something you want us to look at further? Or I'm not entirely sure what to do with the report right now at this point.
No, that's okay. I think just keep it in the back of your minds as you're recommending future programs or thinking of what we could do and how it might relate to bringing that garbage block down.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess I think that's the figure that's sort of most in my mind, is where do we sit in terms of amount of total waste compared to those other ones that also submitted. And also, I guess if we get that RPRA data that as well in the future, we can see how we compare and maybe set ourselves some goals to reduce it, or at least be able to quantify maybe if we can bring that organics value down, like what kind of potential upside there is.
I will say for the RIPRA data, since we are the ones who submit it, so the recycling data that is provided is fairly robust, since our processor tells us how many tons we process. On the landfill garbage side, it's very much an estimate based on a guess at how many trucks are going in and how big the mound is getting. So in terms of how many, where are we? The kilograms per household per week, this will give us a much better, a more precise idea of what it is. And RIPRA, I suspect, is a very guesstimate from small municipalities, unless they have weigh scales or something. Yeah.
Any other folks on the committee have questions or comments on the waste composition study? Jennifer, did you come on video?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I echo what Sarah's saying. I think that those values for total waste for especially smaller municipalities, it's probably also based on topographical survey of the landfill mound, like what we do. That will include any interim or daily cover that's applied to the landfill. So that might skew the results unless somebody did a calculation to remove that from the total waste, which not typically done. So I just want to put that out there.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Well, then I guess we can move on then to item 5, which was the items for consideration. So the 2012 waste recycling strategy, which, as I recall, the first time our committee, at least in this term of council, that we really looked at it, it was sort of right at the beginning when we were re-looking at the mandate. Like, we looked at the strategy, and I think we focused in on the mandate. And then this is sort of like an opportunity to go back and refresh ourselves with it. And it is for folks online. It is on the township website, the 2012 waste recycling strategy. And one thing that was good as I was reviewing for this meeting, there are things now that we've actually progressed that were suggested in that document. Like we have the bag limit now for garbage. We have weekly recycling, but then there were a few other items. I mean, quite a few other items still that are recommended or for consideration. So I don't know if, Sarah, did you want to, I mean, I know you wanted to discuss some of the communication recommendations, but did you have a specific way you wanted to go through this? Or, because I was going to suggest sort of jumping in more to the recommendations, assuming everyone's had a chance to look at it again, move sort of to the recommendations page and sort of seeing if there's items that we would like to bring to council's attention. Is that okay with the members of the committee if we kind of skip forward? Yeah. Okay. So what I mean, in reviewing it, I think the easiest thing is to go to, it's tables 11 and 12. Did I get that right? Yeah. Tables under the implementation steps in the report. Hopefully folks have that, the members of the committee have that handy. But it was section 10 implementation steps, and it's of the report itself, it's page 18, or it's page 49 of our package, the agenda package. So while folks are pulling that up, I will say that there's a few of those implementation steps that I think are kind of outside the purview of the committee, so to speak. So like, you know, the item 1, like regional goals, targets, intermunicipal committees. Like, I mean, I think we're all aware that SDG is working on a regional waste plan. So I think we don't need to make any recommendations on that, but that's, you know, progressing. You know, in terms of training, again, I think we leave that up to staff. Then on the, you know, I think I'll jump sort of to the last one where it talks about provision of free or subsidized blue boxes and backyard composters. So I'm not sure, you know, they were suggesting that that might be, you know, providing folks with either free or subsidized boxes or backyard composters. I know we had backyard composters at cost at one point, and I'm not sure actually what we do with the blue boxes today. So I'm hoping staff can refresh my memory. Angie, you had your hand up.
I did. It was actually about the training part.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just gonna say that I think with environmental science and climate training is key for that. And I just wanted to say, I think it would be great if staff would be like involved in a lot of training. When it said on here on page 9, you don't have to go through it. That says, as a best practice linked to municipal funding, the township should adopt a program where key program staff attend recycling specific workshops, courses, and then also as well, training organizations include Stewardship Ontario and the Solid Waste Association of North America. So I would like to know if that was suggested back in 2012, if there has been ongoing training for staff.
Sarah, do you want to handle that?
Yeah, I can. So with the quick answer is yes. And the longer answer is that with this producer responsibility upcoming, there like stuff before I arrived, so it'd be the general manager of infrastructure and the roads manager would attend all of the RIPRA like webinars, and they had in Eastern Ontario a number of workshops that were held that they would have gone to. And this gets documented, I believe, in our data call every year, how much specific training we take. So this past year, the only training that I've done is I attended the Canadian Waste Resource Conference put on by the Ontario Waste Management Association, I believe. It was a 3-day conference and it was really neat. And there is another conference upcoming in September that I'm taking a pass on just because I've already done my waste conference for the year, but definitely will be looking towards jumping on some of that RIPRA training with producer responsibility coming up, because that's a big deal, and we need to figure out how to manage and how to advise or recommend to council what we think might be a good path forward for South Glengarry.
And that actually led to like another, you mentioned data call. So it said every April, I file a detailed report data call. So that's an annual thing every April.
That it is. And I think, as Jennifer said, the township receives a bit of funding back based on, I don't know how they figure it out, but if we don't get our data call in, then we lose out on substantial funding.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Angie. So I'd skipped over the promotion education piece because I feel that sort of falls more onto the next item on the agenda that Sarah wants to talk about in terms of communication to the public. So back to the issue of like the blue boxes and backyard composters. Is that something that we feel, should the township should be looking at? I think the next item 2 on top of 12 talks about using clear bags or allowing clear bags as well. So Mike, I saw you nodding your head. Did you want to go first on that one?
Yeah, this is the biggest one right now. It would be, again, with waste, if we can get the lowest hanging fruit, generally tends to be the largest portion of it. The backyard composting, I mean, there was the program done with Food Cycle, right? There was what, $10,000, if I'm not mistaken, thrown at that program. and we got 50 machines, if I'm not mistaken.
We got 100 machines.
100 machines, okay. If you spend half of that, you would get a whole lot more composters into backyards. Not everybody's going to do it all year, obviously, but potentially those spring and fall numbers, you bring down those, I'm going to say substantially, potentially, just by including some yard waste into your compost. And goes to a bit of public education, not necessarily staff education, but public education and communication with the public in terms of, you know, how to do it properly, volumes and mixtures, and, you know, all the stuff that makes it work well, and also disabuse people of the concerns about odor and, you know, animals and everything else. If it's done properly, there's no issues. If it's, you know, you keep out the dairy, you keep out the meat, it's all just you know, vegetable based. There's no odor, there's no pests, there's just a massive reduction in what you're throwing out in the bag every week. Blue boxes, I think there's a discussion there. I'm gonna say there's probably a number of people out there that would need blue boxes either replaced or just getting them. They may have either missed as new residents or new builds, or, you know, whatever the situation may be. But throwing a budget, you know, a budget item or a line item rather in the budget, you know, again, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, that's going to get a lot of boxes and a lot of composters out the door. Just make them available for folks, and I expect there would be a good uptake. There always has been when they've been offered and they've been publicized. That's it.
Thanks. Sarah, can you remind us what we do today when it comes to, like, we did have composters that cost way at one point. I actually have one, but that was like 15 years ago. And also what we do in terms of blue boxes today.
Crystal, jump in if I say the wrong thing. Composters, I don't think we offer right now. No, blue boxes we do have available. If you're a new resident, I believe you get one complimentary.
Yep.
And then the small size is $7 and the larger size is $10. And those are all the boxes. They're not carts that we have available.
Nailed it. That's exactly right.
So you said 7 for a small one and 10 for a larger one?
Yeah. And if you come to the office as a new resident, you get a complimentary one.
Sure.
The size of your choosing.
So how about members of the committee, what do we think in terms of the like, I know before we went to weekly, I know for me, it was not like a standard recycling, like the small ones that are like just a bit bigger than a banker's box, like that didn't work. I have a very large, I guess, recycling. It's kind of like a large garbage can, probably on the large side. It's blue, but it's on the large side of what we can use for cans, I guess. It's plastic though. So what do you folks think in terms of like, do we think that those are suitable, sufficient?
Like, do you mean to give to new residents? Sorry.
Well, any like, I mean, in the report they talk about like giving new ones, replacing ones that are broken. I mean, they make a lot of suggestions. I don't know if
What size do we give new residents? The big one or the small one?
I think she said whatever they prefer.
Yeah, Crystal said it there.
Oh, okay.
And do you know, you don't happen to know the size, Crystal? Do you know like how many gallons they are?
Yeah, if you give me 2 seconds, I think I can get that information. Just a sec.
I have to agree with what Mike was saying about the compost and the blue box and some type of subsidy. I think that there's a lot of possibility there and a lot of discussion that can happen there. The $10,000 that was put aside for the food cycler, I think, if we could do that 1 year, I think that's something that could be done regularly, possibly, and just going towards that kind of thing to really encourage the residents to use it. Because I mean, if they have them, then they're more likely to use them.
I think for the composters as well too, like hands-on workshops offered to the communities, like maybe one in Williamstown, one in Martintown. Just doing them here with staff, I've learned that toilet paper rolls can go in the composter. I've learned more about wasps and fruit flies, which I don't get at home, but I've gotten here. So these are things that a lot of staff, that because we have a compost program here now for internal, that they didn't want to be part of this because they don't know what to do. So I think it's the what do I do? And having some like an organization like Transition Cornwall or something to go through how to compost in your backyard, because people have the fear of rats. People have the fear of other things happening with it, or just not knowing what to do. So I think that might encourage them to have to get involved.
I think that's a good idea, Angie. And I mean, it could be as simple as somebody doing a video and putting it up on YouTube and just refer residents to this instructional video, right? I mean, you can do the workshops, the in-person stuff, but there can always be a backup for somebody who gets one on a weekend and says, well, what the hell do I do with this? Just to go back to the food cycler, I think we all saw the food cycler was everybody who wanted one, they were the converted, right? They were already composting. This was just, they wanted to try a different thing to a large degree. I think if there's a new push on backyard composters, I think you're going to capture a lot of people who are not doing it, have not been doing it, and might be convinced to do it. And to me, that would be the benefit of doing a new program on composters. And I mean, I think it would probably go part and parcel with any new policies that come out as far as waste once this regional thing is actually done and we see what comes out of it. Sorry, was that a reaction second? Yeah, exactly. We'll see what comes out of it. But there's talk about it. We're in it. You know, it would be the time to say, okay, everybody, if you want to do something, here's something that you can do, and we'll give you one. And either put their name on a list, keep track of a list. And the blue box thing, maybe, you're eligible for a new one every 5 years. If you need another one, you pay the $7 or $10. I don't think that's a lot to ask. I think if you're going to a retail store, you're probably at least $20, I would expect. So I think the prices are very, very reasonable. But it's just one of those things. They do get broken. They do get, degraded. So there's maybe a need for offering a regular replacement or replacement at some sort of time interval. I'm not saying offer them just ad hoc, because people are going to pick them up and use them for gardening buckets and all kinds of different things that, they don't need them for. But yeah, I think the education component absolutely goes hand in hand with doing it. And I don't think it has to cost much at all in terms of education, I should say.
Yeah, there's even like nonprofit groups that this is what they do to help. And I know that the one that I went to, we got to like field compost in different stages and whatnot. And so things that people that were taking the workshop were not aware of, even asking questions, can I put this in there? Can I put this in there? Just to kind of get that expert response instead of like kind of not knowing, maybe Googling forever and then getting frustrated, like, do I? So just somebody saying like, yes, you can put that in there. Or if there's rats, what am I going to do? Because we get that a lot here, people not wanting to get rats.
Yep. One other thing, I guess, is, I mean, there is more compostable packaging and compostable components to products. So there is another aspect of this that some people may not be aware of. It might be, just that little bit of a hook that'll get 1 or 2 or 10 or 100 people interested in, oh, I can actually do that. Okay, I don't have to throw it out. I can divert it this way.
Absolutely. Like knowing that, shredded paper can go in there and whatnot. And you need like a bunch of different things. So it's not just like what we have here is banana peels and coffee grinds. So you need to add other things in there, add some dirt in there. And then a lot of people too, knowing that they can put this on their garden in the fall to overwinter with it. And then it will help with their vegetables. And then a lot of people have gotten into that, especially with the lockdowns.
I just wanted to jump on to say that the sizes that we sell, there's a 20 gallon and I think it's 50 or 60 gallon is the medium sized one or the larger one.
And you're sure it's gallon?
Yes, I believe so. Well, it's yeah, I think it's gallons. Yeah.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
that's good. That
Yeah.
sounds, yeah, those are good deals. The township is not charging through the nose as I look at some retailers online.
And
I was
also,
just trying to see if I had any one to show.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
also some of the data call funding does, I think we use it for our blue boxes. The funding that we get back from data call subsidizes those blue boxes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, now the other thing about, and one thing I would hear complaints from folks a lot, is not wanting to have containers that have lids for their recycling, because recycling recycling would blow away. And I know I would often have that issue. Is that something that folks on the committee have comments or heard concerns about that?
I see it when I'm driving, but I think it's just not maybe secured properly in there. I mean, you're supposed to tie up your cardboard and stuff, and to be honest, I don't, but I don't have a very windy road or, but I mean, I've seen things blown everywhere, but I think people just kind of toss it and kind of not pack it right. Is that what you're going to say, Michael?
Pretty much. I two parts. One is they don't pack it. And really it's, I mean, I'm talking literally a minute or two of effort to just organize it. A lot of people just want to throw it and forget about it, obviously. But the other trick is, I find, especially water bottles, it drives me nuts that people throw out a water bottle that is still full size. It's not crushed. I don't understand why people don't get that you shouldn't be throwing out air, because it takes up volume. And
true.
I used to drill this into my students' heads, but volume is money. So, and it's also space. And everybody who complains about not having enough space with recycling and everything else, you crush a water bottle, it is a fraction of the size.
And cans too.
And cans too, absolutely. I mean, partially satisfying, maybe some would say not sound that you get from the water bottle. But anything like,
They probably don't know that, I think. I don't think people know that they can do that.
That they can crush them?
Yeah, because I don't have water bottles, so I never even thought of it until you mentioned it.
It's one of those things where, I mean, I don't buy them, I don't use them. If I'm out somewhere and I'm handed one and I drink it,
yeah,
it's crushed before it goes anywhere.
Right.
But even in bags, and this is, I'm never going to convert people on this, I know, but I tie things in a knot instead of throwing it in loose and it sort of expands again. Fold it, tie it in a knot. It's never expanding. The volume it takes up is minuscule compared to everything that you throw out that's loose. And I drive Christina a little bit nuts, but it's just a simple thing to do, and it reduces volume immensely, and also won't blow away because it's more dense.
So again, maybe like, a workshop thing about like tips of how to do that. You know how you have those tips of how to pack your suitcase more efficiently, something like that, how to pack your recycling bin more efficiently. That actually, that gave me a good idea for something to do here. Maybe I'll share a video with you guys.
Well, I was just thinking, because like our stuff's going to the Cornwall MRF now, right? And like, Angie, you would have gone on the tour. I think, Mike, was it before your time, or did you come to the tour of the sorting facility too?
No, I was there for the first one, yeah.
No, Mike's been on this since I've been on this.
I wasn't right. I wasn't sure if he missed it. Sorry.
Oh.
You're right.
No,
Yeah,
the last one, I think we did the landfill that I missed, but I was there for the MRF. Yeah.
And Colleen, were you at the land? Did you come to the Cornwall MRF, the recycling sorting?
No, I wasn't there for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I'll be honest, like, I don't think about crushing. I definitely do. I definitely like put my cans inside the other cans inside the other cans. I kind of do everything thinking of those poor people at the sorting facility sorting things by hand. So I don't want to make it too difficult. But I mean, certainly I follow what they say about putting all the grocery bags, like put your grocery bags inside another grocery bag and like tie that up. But I think, like when I was thinking about things blowing away, I think it was more an issue before where, like you don't have enough, like I would always have overflowing recycling because like, I had so much and it was every 2 weeks, right? Whereas now I checked online. My container I use is 121 liters. So it's a fairly good size, container. And it's, I basically just put that out once a week now, but I don't crush. I haven't been crushing. That's something, I mean, I don't know if that's something the MRF might do to say, how they would prefer to receive their recycling. That might be something interesting to look into.
They're crushing and compacting anyway, right?
They are after, but I don't know about, because they were hand sorting. So I don't know what makes
Sure.
it more difficult or harder for hand sorters.
I think you would find it would actually make it easier for them because there'd be less contamination to it, but that's
Maybe.
my take on it.
I can find out. I'll do that.
Okay.
The
But
other
the-
option, instead of a top to the boxes, using the bags, like I know people have to buy them and, there's a cost there, but stuff's not gonna blow out of the bag if it's.
So, and maybe when we talk about promotion and education, I think this is something like clarity, I think, where we can, because we have the township containers, but if we just make sure it's really clear to the public, like what kind of containers they can use on their own, because I think there was some confusion over that with the different providers that we were using. And, so folks, if they want to invest in them, like a better, more robust with the lid, just so that they know exactly like what's the maximum size, but also like about the bags, because I assume you can put your recycling out in clear bags, but I think that's something, I think can staff confirm that?
The shredded, definitely shredded paper.
Yeah.
No, you can definitely put your recycling out in clear bags or the blue bags.
Yeah, the blue recycling.
Yeah,
The bluish.
the bluish ones. Yeah, because the clear ones we're hoping to get garbage or diapers and. I'm just
Okay.
going to follow up on the blue bin size. So I found our invoice from the recent shipment, and they're 90 liters or 22 gallons. So that's our large bin.
Okay. So the large bin is,
Mhm.
sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, it's 22 gallons.
Okay.
Or 90 liters for the Canadians on board.
Okay.
Mhm.
And sorry, and the smaller one then is
Something smaller than that.
something smaller. Okay.
Sorry, I don't have that.
That's okay. No, that makes more sense. I thought the ones before, no offense, Crystal, I thought
Sorry
the
about
large
that.
size you gave earlier was a bit big.
Well, when's yours, Stephanie, though, isn't yours?
Well, so the container that I'm using is like I said, it's 121 liters. It looks like a garbage bin, but it's blue. It's got
On
like
the
two
wheels?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one.
Like usually apartment complexes usually have those.
Sometimes. Although when I grew up in Quebec, we had those really heavy duty, like square ones that have the two wheels and like the flapping lid, the square flapping lid. This one's all round. Okay, so what I'm hearing is like we would like to make a recommendation to council to like look at like promoting backyard composting, more like consider looking at subsidizing good composting units that folks could use in their backyard, and consider education from some of these partners that we might be able to use to help us get that information out there. Go ahead, Colleen.
Is there a reason that we don't sell the composters anymore? Like at the township level, like we used to sell the outside ones. Is there a reason we don't sell them anymore?
Yeah,
I
'cause that
honestly
was
have-
in the, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I have no idea. Do we know when we stopped selling them?
I'm not even sure when we stopped. It was before my time as well.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe just something we need to revitalize. I have one of them. It's like one of the squarish ones, and it's got like a flap at the bottom that you slide up and down, and you can take compost out from the bottom. It's okay. I'll be honest, I prefer the food cycler because then I don't have to hassle with it in the winter, and I put my bones in it. But I don't know if we wanted to go to something more fancy like that rotates, like they have the ones that like can rotate your compost. Or I mean, there's I think we want to get a nice model so that, or we suggest a nice model so that folks want to use it, whatever makes it easier for folks to use.
I will say when you get into the rotating ones, the price does tend to go up pretty quickly. The square ones that you're talking about, Stephanie, I had them at our last place. I've got a rotating one that I've got here now. It's on wheels, so I can move it around a little bit, which comes in handy periodically. But the square ones are actually pretty good if you actively manage it and draw it out in the fall. You take your bottom stuff out in the fall do a little bit of a turn on it, it leaves you a big volume for the winter that you can sort of fill, then just turn it again in the spring, and it goes quite quickly. Depending obviously on what you produce, sometimes you need two of them side by side, but they are a reasonably good model. If you know, like I say, if you are active with it, you add a little bit of water, you turn it, you give it, put it somewhere that's in the sun, that you get some good heat on it. It does quite a good job.
Well, maybe I'm a prime example if someone needs a workshop on how to use it better.
I think it'd be interesting. It says like that showed over 55 of respondents of the survey already use a backyard composter. And it says 17.5% of respondents would be interested in using one. And this was like, 10 years ago. It'd be interesting to know how many, what the percentages would be now.
It would be interesting. Although I don't know if that would necessarily preclude us from having, like if we had that data, I don't know if it would change like our recommendation in terms of doing.
No. I think it would be also kind of help promote more workshops and stuff and more interest in it.
Yeah, have people more. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay, all right. So if we're okay, moving off of bins and composters. And so what I'm hearing about bins, folks think the bins that we're doing today are fine. We don't need to encourage the township or suggest to the township to get fancier like recycling bins or better recycling bins, like the standard ones are good. Angie, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, but the recycling bins, like I have like just like Rubbermaid bins that were kind of like broken a bit that I use, and they seem to take those. So I mean, you don't, unless they're just doing it because they're being kind, but I don't think you actually need something that says like recycling or it's blue, I'm assuming. Is that correct?
I think that as long as it's clear that it's out at the road, they'll pick up whatever it's in. The only time that we're running into issues is if it's not visible. If they have it in the end of the road in a bin and they haven't taken it out. But otherwise, yeah, I don't think there's any restrictions on what type of bin you use.
Okay, because I even had stuff out in a paper box, and they actually left the paper box. They dumped it and left the paper box. I was like, oh, okay, I'll reuse it again.
Yeah, I think the risk there is depending on, like, because this has happened to me where I've used like a Rubbermaid container that I intended on reusing, but then the Rubbermaid container went with the recycling. I mean, I think there's some time, but I mean, it was a ratty Rubbermaid container. It's not like I was super upset about it, but I think you just have to run that runs the risk. Is it clear for the folks who are doing this job fairly quickly, right? That it's like, yeah, this is, at least if folks are attached to their bins, they want to make sure they use ones that are obvious. And also, I mean, one thing about the proper recycling ones is they are a bit more heavy duty, right? Than I mean, depending on what kind of Rubbermaid bin you're talking about, they have, different qualities, but some of them don't last very long when they're being used regularly. Okay. But yeah, so moving on, like also, I guess in this like education is like, also emphasizing that folks can use, if they do have concerns, they can use bags as well. Just a refresh of what kind of containers they can use. Okay, I'm going to move over the procurement piece because I know that we're doing this. We're doing a lot of that already, so I'm not too concerned about. I don't know if I don't think our committee really. That's where we're going to add value in terms of talking about procurement processes. The next one is about like recycling, public space recycling. So one thing is we can check off that we're doing weekly recycling, so that's great. Public space recycling. I know that this is something that I think we could probably do a better job of. I think we have some certain buildings where, we might have garbage and recycling, but it's some of like the identification on the containers is worn off or semi ripped off, or it could be updated. And I think those are those public, like I'm thinking inside, not so much outside, but inside, those are I think opportunities where we could like have educational material like you can have like an infographic or something that's like stuck on the top of it saying like, this is stuff we recycle in North Glengarry, or, you know, something that sort of like when people are looking at it, prompts them not to throw their regular garbage on the recycling side, but also provides an opportunity for folks to use it. And also just at the placement, this is a pet peeve of mine, just to give like an example, like upstairs at Tartan Hall, by the bar is just a regular garbage and the recycling is over by the bathroom. So it's like, if you're there and you have like, you're using one of these like disposable wine glasses or can, you see people throwing them in the garbage as opposed to walking to over, you know, by the bin, by the, you know, things like that, like just to try and keep that in mind about where we place those things. Angie, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
They have the those bins that are attached, like your recycling and your garbage ones, so they're right next to each other. Like it'll have like a can hole for use cannon, or if it's just cans or whatnot, like you'll see them in different cities. But I mean, like they're aesthetically nice. They're both the same size. They fit in a lot of places. I think it would look more modern than what's out there today. So just a suggestion there.
Yeah, it's not like what you see some airports are pretty fancy. Eh? They have some pretty nice. Like... Mike, you wanted to jump in?
I was going to say, just garbage and recycling, to my mind, whatever type of containers they are, should always be side by side. Some of the ones, you know, the airports, some other places, you'll notice in Tim Hortons where they've got probably 2 or 3 different, you know, waste recycling, but they all actually end up in the same bag. It's a little frustrating. But yeah, your example of the Tartan Hall, where you've got, you know, your waste garbage is right there, the recycling's on the other side of the room. There should be 2 bins at the bar. There should be 2 bins on the other side of the room. So there's always an option for people, and they can, not everybody's going to do it, but at least some people are going to take half a second and think before they chuck it out of their hand, right?
Yeah, I think so. And also another one that came up is because we just had the Williamstown Fair, right? And like, I don't know if that's something that the township can get into, but I mean, I know like the recycling there was not fantastic. So I don't know what we can do about encouraging, you know, like events to do a good job of recycling. Sarah, go ahead.
I say interestingly enough, one of the in-kind services that the township provides to the Williamstown Fair is removal of all of their recycling.
Okay.
I believe garbage. So they bring it to a spot and we we take it away. But
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree. When I was like, we're taking away the recycling and I don't see very many bins.
No.
So that would be the committee thing then, I guess, eh? The Williamstown Fair Committee.
Well, we can, I mean, if the township's providing in-kind services, we can definitely suggest to like council to suggest that when we're doing in-kind services like that, like if we're providing the service to you, you know, as a sort of like good partner, can you ensure that, you know, that they have, because I mean, even when I was there, I mean, there was lacking of recycling. And another thing that came up, and I don't know if this is the venue for it, but I think this is something that the township could do too, about like sponsoring like a water refill station. Because again, if we're taking their waste and we're taking their recycling, there was so many water bottles that were in the garbage. There's so many water bottles like strewn all over the place, like just disposable ones. Or not, I shouldn't say disposable, they should be recyclable, non-reusable. Like that's something also that I think the township, I mean, again, if now that I had forgotten that was one of the in-kind things we did, that would be, again, a benefit to the township. So we're picking up less waste from that.
Just a quick thought on that. If the municipality is providing that in-kind service, it might not be a bad idea, again, suggesting spending, but a line item just for some waste receptacles that can be moved from venue to venue when that sort of thing is provided. So just, you know, they're in a storage spot, but whenever it goes to the Williamstown Fair, it goes to, I don't know what other event, but basically if there's something that the municipality is doing, they can provide those so that there is a means to, you know, recycle garbage. Then it's actually getting done. You're not depending on them having, you know, labeled cans. They're being provided, they can be picked up again, reused all over the place.
Interesting. Okay. And let me think on that one. What other they had? Yeah, they had weekly recycling, public space recycling, recycling depots. I think that's something else, like, you know, advertising that if folks have recycling that they, you know, extra recycling or recycling that they forgot to leave out or whatever, that they could bring it potentially. I'm correct, right? They could bring it to the landfill if the landfill is open.
Yeah, you are correct. They can also bring it, part of our agreement with the Cornwall MRF is they can drop off recyclables there.
Okay, yeah. So again, just a matter of like making sure that information is out there for people, because I think, you know, but just like I hesitated there, I'm like, I'm pretty sure they can do that. Make sure that people have that information.
And there's no cost on that?
We pay, I think we pay at Cornwall. I
$5.
think, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Like
it's
the residents
$25.
do?
No, the township pays $25 every time a South Glengarry resident goes and uses the city of Cornwall.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
No, I'm not worried about that. That's I guess people
It-
don't
it-
have to use it. People don't have to
Yeah.
pay. Like I wouldn't have to pay.
No.
I mean, I do through my taxes, but you know what I mean. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
All right.
Do we know how many people go to Cornwall on a regular basis? Like, or do you have like, I know we would get billed, but is it a lot?
No, it's not a lot. I got the tickets today and maybe 7 from the last month.
Okay.
And I think I don't believe it's $25 every time someone goes. That's just for hazardous waste. If it's recycling, it's just per tonnage and it gets added, is my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we, I mean, recycling depots, is that something we think we need beyond the land, like beyond what we have at the landfill?
Nope.
No. Okay. There was an option about talking about private roads and offering services to private roads. That I think that's a big, I don't know if we want to get into that discussion, because I
Well,
don't know if
don't
we know exactly
they-
what that means.
I think
would
they
s-
put them at the end of the road now, don't they? Is this put at their end of their private road?
Tell us, Sarah, how does this work?
not delving into that tonight. I would suggest we
Okay.
give administration a year to sort that out, and then we'll come back with good news.
Okay, that sounds good. No, I mean,
Good
private
answer.
roads is very complicated, so we might not want to, we have a lot already on this list that we're talking about. Maybe we have to leave some things for the future,
Meh.
right? Okay, so the next one was about, so landfill curbside bans, like bag container limits, pay as you go. Like, again, I think baby steps. I don't think we want to talk about pay as you go, like paying for all your garbage at this point. We're just still lowering our bag limits. They brought up bale wrap recycling
Mhm.
and also leaf, and it's too bad Aiden's not here. I don't know, and I think he had some information about bale wrap recycling. And did you have anything, Angie, on that one too?
I had just kind of highlighted some of that, and on page 17 it says township should investigate via surveys and or audits the quantity of bale wraps requiring management. So I was curious if that was ever done.
I would hesitate. That might be something we should suggest to bring back to the agricultural committee and see if there's something.
I mean, I
that they
don't
want.
see them as much actually in the fields. Like, so
Yeah,
you
I
see,
don't-
look, say, oh, look, there's marshmallows, and I don't see as many marshmallows in the fields anymore.
No.
To my knowledge, we didn't do a survey or figure out how much was going in. I certainly don't know, but I do know in the spring, late winter, as we were transitioning to bag limits, that there was quite a discussion as to whether or not bale wrap would be exempted. And the ag committee did talk about it for about an hour.
Okay.
And ultimately, it is exempted right now from our bag limits. But I will
Okay.
note we've had other industries write in saying that they're like boat wrap or car wrap is very similar to bale wrap, and wondering why there's an exemption for one industry and not another. So something to think about in the future.
I'm going to reach out to that Farmers for Climate Solutions that I found today and see what they have for suggestions for that.
I mean, anything I've seen about it, like it talks about like it's meant to be cleaned before, and then it's meant to be compressed or not cleaned, clean or cleaned, and then compressed. So I don't know if, I think, you know, you'll see things about having to make like some sort of compressor to sort of, you know, make it manageable size.
I'm just thinking like if there's an alternate, like a biodegradable one or something, or I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Mike, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to ask a question about the bag limits. I was wondering what the feedback had been and how it's actually been received and how it's going.
Sarah, you want to take that one?
Yeah, so it's been very quiet the last 2 months. We dropped down to a limit of 3 bag limit, or no, a 3 bag limit at the end of May, so May 30th, and we've June, July, half of August, and no big complaints. We
Good.
dropped down to 2 at the end of November, and I expect that's when we may, like our average resident, let's say, may start to feel it.
Okay, good.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And there haven't been as many people calling in with roadside garbage. So we were worried that we get a lot of illegal dumping, and it's kind of the normal amount, is my understanding.
And if there is illegal dumping, like if we're a resident, like anyone who's watching, if they see trash that's been dumped in a ditch, do they contact the township, or is that?
That they do. So they contact us if it's our right of way, or the county's if it's their right of way. And I believe we talked last time, Colleen had said that some of those bags are actually from the Adopt a Road program.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they leave them on the side of the street and then call the county patrol guys to go pick it up.
And most of our illegal dumping seems to be like houses being cleaned out, or a part, like it's big dumping. People who don't want to pay tipping fees. It's not as much the small bags.
Jennifer, do you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that on the side of the bale wrap, back in the day when we did this WRS back in 2012, I don't think there was any surveys that I recall having been done or been involved in or been reported about. But I do remember looking into bale wrap options. And at the time, there was a place out in London that was taking it, but they would come and pick it up. And when I spoke to municipalities about the service and all that, it wasn't a regular service. Like they didn't regularly come and pick up. So the municipalities were having issues with storage at that time. So likely why we didn't pursue it at South Glengarry at that time. Of course, that's several years ago. So one would hope that there's better options now. I did hear at one time that GFL was collecting it, but I don't know if they still do.
Oh. That's probably something worth looking into. I mean, if there's something that maybe the township can do to facilitate that, but I guess that's probably something we should send. It's probably something we should send back to the agricultural committee to see if that's if it is exempted, at least, you know, what can be done to try and reduce its impact. Angie, what did you want to add?
What did I want to add?
Bale wrap.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
I'll just jump in. So there is a bale wrap pilot program being undertaken right now by Bruce County. I believe it started in the end of 2021. So I'm just kind of watching that and seeing what falls out of it.
Okay. Well, then maybe we can just make a very general statement about, like, you know, let's keep an eye on the pilots that are, proceeding in the province. Did you remember, Angie?
I sure did. It was after Mike's question. So I've been hearing through the grapevine that a lot of people are throwing a lot of waste in the recycling because they say they'll take it no matter what. So because the recycling bins will take it and then they sort it. So a lot of people I've heard who are not happy with the garbage bag limits are just putting stuff in the recycling bins.
Has staff, I mean, I don't know, wouldn't the MRF give us feedback if all of a sudden we had a lot of Sarah or Crystal, I don't know if that's something that would have come back. Would that come back to us from the MRF if they're saying that all of a sudden people are putting a lot of garbage in the recycling?
I haven't received that feedback. It might be an end of year thing.
Yeah.
So people who are listening, don't do that.
Yes, no, I mean, the
They're on
average.
to you.
Yeah. No. Okay, so the last one was leaf and yard waste collection. Again, there was comments in the report about, doing that, but again, it was predicated on it being going to, about being diverted, whereas, they were commenting that, we're not diverting it. It just goes to the landfill. So, I mean, I think that's just another one of these things that I think the township, I think the township should look at. It's just like, what's a better way of dealing with leaf and yard waste? Again, encouraging people to compost on their property if they can, but also I think we need to make it apparent that currently we don't have a composting program, so it's going to the landfill. So it's not really something that we want to be encouraging at this point. Angie?
Yes, for that, I had highlighted on here, it said, it's common practice to offer curbside leaf and yard waste collection as it can be an effective tool to increasing overall waste diversion. But unfortunately, ours contributes to, it doesn't, it doesn't diverse, it contributes to waste. So I think the community should know about that. I don't know if there's you can do a virtual tour of the landfills. And then so people would kind of know, because Michael, who wasn't there, so we learned that the leaf and yard waste actually just goes to the landfill and gets either burned or just put in the landfill. So we're not actually diverting it. So people were putting out their leaf. I know a lot of people were putting out leaf litter thinking that it was going to a compost pile, but it's not. It's just going to the landfill. There's no mulching or anything.
That's disappointing.
He didn't know either.
I thought they had a program there. I thought they had a separate piece set aside for it. I was under that impression. Okay.
No, we're not. Our landfills are not. You have to have a special approval for that, an area if you're doing compost. So that's something we could suggest they look into, making it so that they can have receive that stuff. Colleen?
It's a whole other thing.
I'm wondering if it would be beneficial. I don't know if you guys remember, it was somebody from the city that did a presentation, and they showed it was called a story map of the Cornwall landfill.
Yep.
I'm just wondering if something like that might be good for educational purposes, to kind of show people what's in the landfill, what's available, what's happening to it. And that's kind of a way to let people know that the leaf and yard waste is not part of a program, and where it's going, and maybe have a list of where your stuff's going, where it could go.
That's interesting, the story map. If only we knew someone with GIS expertise.
Yeah, and if your buddy, you can always ask your buddy Denise, who did the Cornwall one.
No. Well, I mean, we do have GIS. We actually have a GIS capable person actually at the township as well. But so I mean, they're out there. That's an interesting idea. Those can be very effective.
Yeah, it's like a virtual tour of it.
Virtual tour,
and cheaper than putting together a video.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to plug our GIS person. They did a wonderful story map, I believe, for, I can't remember what, but it was a tour of our township.
Oh, the Glengarry routes. Yeah.
It was very nice.
And did a very good GIS there. Exactly.
So there, she's capable.
Capable. Just don't know if we can't necessarily know that they have all the resources and time to do it, but definitely there's capability.
I'd say there's no time to waste for climate change, but I will.
Okay. All right. So I think, are we good then for the, I know Sarah was hoping to talk about communication. So are we good for
are we going to make recommendations to council?
Well, so what I was going to suggest is sort of like what we did for the bag limits is because either we can put it in our minutes and then we have to wait for our next meeting to approve the minutes, and then it can go to council the meeting after that, or we could do what we did with the bag limits, and I could write up a letter summarizing basically high level the points that we discussed, I could circulate it for the committee and just say like, is everyone, did I capture correctly?
Okay.
And I could submit it to like on the next agenda for council, just to make it go quicker.
Yes, quicker is good.
Does that work for folks?
It's a good idea.
And again, it ties back to the waste strategy. Like we're not reinventing the wheel here. Like we're just kind of re-highlighting stuff that, I mean, it shouldn't be controversial. It's stuff that's already been out there just a while ago.
I was going to ask earlier before we got into this, this is from 2012. Do we have anything anywhere that shows what actually did get implemented and if there were any tracked benefits? Or I have a presumption on the answer, but I just figured I should ask the question.
We've done a lot of progress in this term. Sarah,
Not
go ahead.
not to my knowledge on tracking, but Jennifer.
So if you review our annual reports, you will see the North Lancaster reports provided annually, like I've indicated previously, and Beaverbrook is every 2 years. And in there, we provide an update as to what diversion initiatives have been implemented following this WRS report. So we do have a table similar to tables 11 and 12, and in it, it states, the township implemented such and such, and this is the date when it has been implemented. And but to quantify how much progress it's provided to us, we don't have any quantities for that per se, like for that one item. But also in the annual reports, we do summarize our blue box initiatives, our blue box quantities, I should say, tonnages. So in there is a breakdown of, there's a table showing since 2012, how many tons of recycling we've sent to the MRF on an annual basis. So there's some tracking there. It's not 100% what you're looking for here, but it does show, if there is improvement and whatnot.
Okay, thank you.
So is there plans to, it might have already been spoken of, but plans to do another waste recycling strategy since this one's a decade old?
It hasn't come up at council at this point, no. But I mean, and it probably is something that should be refreshed on a regular basis.
Or like a waste diversion strategy, like up to 2022 kind of like standards?
I think the issues, and I agree that we should have something updated, but I think the issues now with producer responsibility coming like very soon, like I don't know if it should come, but I'm like a new report should come, but I don't know if like right now is the right thing or if it should be like in a year's time kind of thing, just because to make sure that the data is usable, because it's still unclear, like in our area, like how's it going to roll out, what's the group, the pro, I guess, who's going to be doing, what's the catchment area, like it's there's a lot of question marks. So I mean,
this is, sorry,
go ahead.
So this is not a provincially, like the Ontario or the federal government doesn't require something, like I should probably know this information, but doesn't require municipalities to have something like this every so many years?
Not to my knowledge.
I can say no.
Okay.
Yeah. But and now hopefully the landfill reports, that's something I think we need to add to our, sort of our committee's filing folders so that we can refer back to those kind of on a more regular basis.
And if I have been monitoring a couple of the municipalities' council minutes, and some of them enter their annual reports in for council for receiving, I suppose.
Yep.
And I was thinking of doing that moving forward.
We did do it. I know we've received it once or twice in a council package, but it wasn't like a regular. I think it should definitely be part of the regular process that it gets to council.
But yes, I can add
committee
them
as well. Okay, so so that's to your question, Angie, about what's the next step. So promotion and education, Sarah, you wanted to talk specifically about Appendix C in the waste strategy report. I'm opening it up here. So basically, how we're getting this information out.
Oh,
I
I apologize. I thought that was all included. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk about the recommendations and all that in the, I see now it's all separated. I'm sorry to have.
No, it's okay.
that all in there?
I kind of did things a bit differently too. I kind of
Okay.
like, well, I had like I figured we were gonna do like communication sort of on its own afterwards. So
Okay.
Sarah, did you want us what did you want us to like hone in on the communication tools part of the, or is there something specific?
No, there wasn't really anything specific, but to update the committee, a few council meetings ago. So this strategy, I suppose, says that we're putting out an annual calendar. And this year we have opted not to refresh the calendar as a big package, but we're going to move towards a single page that can be downloaded from the website and available at all of our locations, and then move towards a more of a recycle coach online presence, so that no one's surprised. And if there's any kind of refreshing of this strategy now that we're a bit more digital, that folks have ideas on, just like spitball and I'll write it down and maybe refresh this bit for a future meeting for you folks.
Yeah. I mean, definitely we spent a lot of paper and money on the recycling calendars, but people love them as well. But now that we don't do, we're not doing bi-weekly recycling, like I think the motivation for those is a bit less, but there was still a lot of good information on them, about certain specific dates, about, there was some, guidance on hazardous waste, et cetera. So I think we definitely need to get that out to information. And I would suggest like going completely, like as much online as possible, but I'd say there are still some residents who, if it's a one pager or something that would go out with a tax bill or something, that's not necessarily a bad idea either, because I think there are still a lot of folks who, it's not that they don't have access, it's just not their thing going on online necessarily. And I think in this case, you really want to make sure, you don't necessarily want people to have to go look. If they're not inclined to go look for this information, then they're probably not inclined to go, to put in that extra effort either. So I think it's important to try and get that out proactively, sort of as push as opposed to pull. Go ahead, Angie.
Yeah, so what I know a lot of people in Baynesville liked that, like sometimes if there's a holiday, it's not really a holiday because it's not a municipal holiday, but it's a holiday for other people like federal or something. So they're never not, I think they follow what their neighbors do. If they put the bins out or they wait the extra day. So I know that calendar would help them with that. And same with like the yard leaf and waste pickup or the large item pickup and whatnot. So those key dates I think are still important for people to have, to put on their fridge or to put like on near their door or something from the township. So let me get this right. We're not doing a paper calendar at all. And because I know last meeting we had talked about people could request it or put their name in for one.
So it won't be the 8.5 by 11 flip calendar. It'll be like a I can't the size anyhow. A 1 page, like 4 months, 4 months, 4 months, and people can put it on their fridge and it'll stick there.
Okay.
So something smaller printed at home if they have the right paper size.
And that is for only people who request it.
Yeah, it'll be available for download on the internet and we'll have paper copies. And if people really want us to mail them one, I'm sure we can.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So you'll have paper ones, I guess, at the township or
township office,
Okay.
the arena, if we can find a spot for something like that.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else in terms of, I still sort of, I'm on the mind that we probably, at least the first time, might want to send, if we're going to a new one pager, that we still, like the first year at least, send out the one pager, like push it out with like a tax bill or something, and then let people know, like, it's all here online. Likely we won't do another one. I don't know, something like that.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
We've missed the tax bills.
They're
gone.
But we still have time, don't we? You can do it the next tax bill.
I think that's next February.
Right.
But possibility of doing an opt-in. So you send out a form and people have to actually return the form to get a paper copy. I haven't heard how that's gone yet, but that's something that's been attempted in North. Might want to follow that one to see how it'll go.
Okay.
But it's just that instead of saying you're not going to get it, it's you're not going to get it unless you do this, and then you will still have access to paper if, you know, and that's what goes out in the tax bill. So everybody gets it. And those who are willing to go online will just go, okay, yeah, I'll go online. Those who say, I don't want to go online, have the opportunity to return this thing, and, you know, they still get what they want.
Interesting.
Is that for anything that you guys send out? Like tax bills, the garbage thing, like anything?
It's not going to be for tax bills as far as I know. It's just, it's like the big mail out stuff. Like they were spending money on like heavy paper and ink and, you know, like I mean, we have so many means of communication, right? And if we can cut down, I mean, we can still mail it out to people that want it, but we're obviously cutting down the expense on that stuff that is not needed. And we're reducing that waste stream as well.
No, I mean, we did talk throughout like about communication, about getting like just making it easier for people to be able to access the information or have opportunities to get educated on some of these different items. But yeah, like you said, Sarah, probably that like a refresh of the communication strategy might be worthwhile, or like that certainly what's here now, like in the WRS is not, it's starting to become not relevant. There's a lot of recommendations that are relevant, but some of this communication piece is kind of out of date. Although the sentiment is good. Okay, so that was your that was your request for input on the 2022 collection schedule, or is that a separate item?
That's a separate item, and I think it should have a pretty fulsome discussion, so maybe defer it to the next meeting.
Okay.
It can wait. I can give you, I was hoping to get input on what you thought the collections calendar should look like, and if we wanted to move towards maybe, so I can prepare for my budget and putting something before council. So if we're set on weekly recycling, or if in the summer we wanted to go recycling leaf and yard waste, or just add a leaf and yard waste on top, or how that might look. Yeah, like all that kind of stuff. But that can, or if it's easier if I just put in front of you folks what I was thinking of budgeting, and then you can support me or not when it comes to council.
Probably. I mean, that might be, if you already have a sense of what you're looking for, or I mean, maybe that's the most efficient way. And if you bring it, like if depending on what our next meeting is, if you bring it to our next meeting, then we can comment on it.
Okay, I'll do it that way. Thank you.
Okay, communications update, recycle coach.
I think I'm taking this one. So we will be launching the mobile app Recycle Coach come mid-September. This is something that corporate services and the infrastructure department will be proceeding with. So, I mean, my update, I guess, is that it's going forward. And for those of you who don't know about this app, it will allow you to see what is recyclable. It's you can input any item in there. It could be a cup, or it could be you know, a burlap sack, you know, whatever you want to find out if it's recyclable. And so we're working with I guess the company now to get our list of recyclable items up to date, so that when we launch, it will all be ready to go. It also will has the capability of sending push notifications. So if recycling is delayed a day, we could send a mass notification out to our residents, just reminding them that, hey, your recycling is, or your garbage recycling will be tomorrow and not today because of the long weekend. Or if there's a delay in garbage pickup or recycling, we can send out push notifications. It will tell you what the collection requirements are, any drop-off locations, any special events. There's, I think, what do you call, like a library of information that is also available to us. Blog articles. I'm just looking at kind of the package details here while I'm speaking. But yeah, so that's going to be launching mid-September. It's our communications coordinator who's leading it. So yeah, if you guys have any questions about it, I'd certainly try to answer them. Maybe Sarah can help me too if she knows something I don't, but
I know I use Recycle Coach even today, knowing that our stuff goes to Cornwall. If I have a question about something, I double check there.
You've reminded me to download that.
Say that again, Angie, I didn't hear you.
That's why. I said she just reminded me to download the app. That's all. Just reminded me.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Crystal. Okay, volunteer request for Hazardous Waste Day.
Yes, we are hosting a hazardous waste day, and we're wondering if any members of the Environment Committee might consider volunteering.
Oh.
Yeah. It is.
We've
September
never been
24th.
asked, I don't think. Have we been asked?
Yeah, we've been asked in the past.
not-
I've done
not-
it
but not-
twice
Okay, I don't think.
before you.
Yeah, okay, I was gonna say, I've never been asked, or maybe no one wanted my help, but.
No, they asked us in the first few years of our committee forming, like the first few years of Hazardous Waste Day.
Okay.
I not unfortunately, but I have a big market in Binkley Kill that day, so I won't be able to help. Plus I have
Okay.
also apples and arts that morning as well too for
Oh,
my company.
busy lady. But I think
I
I'd
would totally do it though.
so you recommend, having done it, you recommend it, because then I'll
Yeah,
I'll
no,
go.
I think it
I'll
was
go.
great. I would go to each car with a clipboard. I don't know if you still do it the same way. I send my dad with my stuff now, and I would write down who they are and where they're coming from, and I would just talk to people, and it was fine.
Fantastic.
we had a great time doing it last year. So it could be a really fun day and everyone's in a good mood and happy to be getting rid of their hazardous material, to be honest.
Free,
A lot of
free.
people are happy to get it out of their garage. So it's always a fun day.
I should be able to help that day.
It's 9 to 12 is the actual hazardous waste, like a resident drop off, and I imagine there'll be a little bit before and after that we'll need help with. I'll be there if that helps.
I'm gonna say no at this point because I've got some major projects going on here that I expect I'll be on, but if I can, I'll let you know closer towards the date.
Okay. We'll make sure that Aiden gets the invite as well, so that he can come. Also,
It's a
put in
busy weekend.
It is a busy weekend. Not only so we have hazardous waste, and then that evening we have the South Glengarry Business and Community Awards Gala,
And then you have apples and arts too that day, and
and it does Apple and Arts is Saturday and Sunday, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
There's
I
also
don't think.
the warden's
will-
dinner in Maxville that night too.
Yeah, sadly, our council won't be able to go to that. Yeah, it's very, very busy. Okay, well, great. Well, thank you for the invite. Okay, the item that we added in a new business, Angie, let me see if I can get it right.
Road ecology is
Thank you.
probably yeah, no
Road
problem.
ecological practices. So do you want to just give a quick explanation of what your
Absolutely.
item is?
So when we kind of revised the mandate to going from we were originally called the landfill advisory committee, but now it's environmental committee. So I feel that this is something I can bring up to this committee, having it not be with landfill, but it has to do with biodiversity and species protection. But I was wondering when the road, Highway 2, just east of Lancaster near the cemetery, and I think it's the Bodette River. So you're passing by Bob T Tax Shop and you're heading on the north side of the highway. There's a cemetery on your right.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it's the Bodette River. There's always a lot of roadkill there, and a lot of turtles that are laying their eggs in the spring and the gravel on the side. So when roads are, this is something I did road ecology as a side project when I went back to school, but when roads are up for, I don't know, I'm not an engineer, but up for like redoing.
Reconstruction,
Thank you.
resurfacing.
Resurfacing, or if we can perhaps consider some kind of wildlife like mitigation on the roads for that area, because turtles are all species of turtles are threatened, and it's just constant, like every time I drive by there's either a squirrel, or this one I think was a muskrat, or I saw so many turtles there as well too, and moved a bunch. So if we can maybe look at some kind of road ecology, wildlife mitigation tools for it. I know it'd be a lot to put like under passages, but even like fencing or something. I think they like the mammals, like the grass and the trees at the cemetery, and then they go across because there's more forest across, and then you have the river as well there. So it's kind of got a lot for wildlife species. And then it also made me think about near Cooper Marsh, where there's tons of roadkill as well too when it comes to turtles and frogs, and wanting to know like when that stretch of road is due for a facelift, and if wildlife mitigation can be implemented there as well, or at least looked into and considered.
So interesting. I'll just jump in first. Like we had a delegation at County Council on Monday, actually specifically about the Cooper Marsh area, about particularly focused on turtles, but I mean, it did touch on other wildlife geese as well. About it was a suggestion to do work on those roadways when the turtles are not burrowing, or also see if there are other practices to decrease or to mitigate or have them cross somewhere else. So I know one thing that came up there was like trying to, maybe if we should be trying to reach out with the RCA, maybe seeing if they have some best practices about that. I know for certain species, like there was a bridge that was going to be replaced in the counties, and it's been delayed by several months because when they went to do the work, there were swallows. I'm sorry, I think it was swallows. Yeah, that was an active nest. So they stopped the work, and that's going to be done after the active season. And I don't know if there are similar kind of considerations for turtles and whatnot. But so that's, I don't know, Sarah, if you want to add, you probably know more about this than I do.
Yeah, maybe not.
Huh.
Definitely whenever we do work on bridges, we do consult the Conservation Authority, and like Stephanie said, we identify if there are any species at risk, or if it's mating season for fish, spawning season. Barnyard swallows, definitely. If they have a habitat, you delay it until the fall, which is why our bundled bridges job here in South Glengarry was pushed from spring tender until summer. When you do road reconstruction, I believe you would also consider the impact of the construction on habitat, but not necessarily right now improving the wider area for continued habitat, if that makes sense. Like we'd protect them from the impacts of construction, but not necessarily like putting in an underpass for their future use. The county road would be definitely, I was gonna say the county road. So your two examples would be something we need to bring up with the counties, because, but I think that could go through. I can put I do believe County Road 2 from Lancaster has been done westward quite a bit this year. So they've just resurfaced a huge part of County Road 2. And I mean,
there's even, sorry, go ahead.
No, so like that area is done deal for, I don't know,
for a
until 10 years, who knows?
Okay. I dropped a link in the chat for a Ontario-based road ecologist who works with a lot of like with the Ministry of Transportation. She's been working with us here at the city. And it just kind of gives you an overview of road ecology and how to consider these species. And it's even, it can be as simple as like some fencing, but she is a great resource for that. And I think that it also is safer for drivers because it prevents people from swerving into others. As someone who only thinks of the animals, I have to think about people who don't really care about the animals, but it's also safer for them to prevent wildlife collisions, even if it is a turtle or a squirrel. Because squirrels being sporadic, people might swerve one way, swerve the other way, not wanting to hit it. So it is safer to try to keep wildlife off of the roads, crossing the roads underneath, or just prevent them if possible. Although a lot of them need to cross if there's no other way.
Oh, definitely, if something's near water, then we just by legislation need to consider all of that kind of stuff. If it's a road reconstruction, depend how much I think money there is in the budget to go outside of just traveled surface.
Yeah, I know that was brought up at the delegation, was the issue of like when re-shouldering is done, particularly at that Cooper Marsh area. I guess a lot of turtles actually like laying their eggs literally in the the gravel of the road, and then when they're being re-shouldered, it's probably like ruining the nest. So I don't. I mean, I think these are, for me, it's new considerations. I mean, I'll be honest, this is not something that would have came to my mind earlier about like what are things that can be done to be like to mitigate. But I think it's something definitely. Just trying to think like what's the best way to address this, like, or to see if there's I don't know. I mean, again, I don't know if the RRCA, like, who really takes the lead in our area when it comes to like turtles and snakes, and
when it comes to the road ecology, I think it goes into like the RFPs or the tenders and whatnot, like to include it into the road design.
Okay.
But when it comes to looking for these things, I mean, here it was a community effort with community eyes everywhere. So I'm not sure.
I think it's more about getting educated on these things. I'm thinking even like starting, like backing up, like these are new topics for a lot of people. Like
no, the person in the link I sent, that's somebody that could be helped. She could guide municipalities of where to go and whatnot.
Okay. I mean, I'll definitely send that on because, like I said, there was a delegation right at it at County Council this past week. So I'll definitely share that information with the manager of transportation for the counties, because they are going to be doing a staff report on it. So maybe it's monitoring. Maybe that's what we can do, is just make sure that we monitor what happens for that, because it's specifically about Cooper Marsh, maybe, and what comes out of that to and make sure it's shared with the lower tiers to see if there's some learnings there that might be helpful moving forward.
Is there someone who like monitors like the boat? I think it's the Baudette River that goes near that cemetery. No, it's not the Baudette River.
The Baudette River comes out in Baudette, Quebec.
It's Finney's Creek. It's called Finney's
Thank
Creek.
you. Yeah, that makes sense,
Crystal.
Michael. I go over it every day. But I mean, is there a species inventory? Does RCA maybe do species? I know Brendan probably has looked at that area before. Never mind, I can reach out and find out.
Well, I've done species at risk reports for municipalities before. Generally for structures, around structures. Not something we do on a regular basis, but it was something that was done because they were looking at a culvert and a bridge program.
Okay.
So it was just sort of in the general area concerning construction and, obviously time of the year and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, to your point, like, do we have local experts who can help sort of, rather than reinventing the wheel, or rather than starting from scratch and asking like folks who have no background in this to look into it? It might, if you do have through your contacts, Angie, have anyone that comes out of that with some information, it'd be good to loop us back in.
I will add in a lot of our kind of waterways like this are municipal drains, and they're classified according to what's in them and the risk of impacting native species. So our window for working around, like Mike said, anything in it, definitely a river, but in our municipal drains is limited. So there would be some information that they would have used to make that classification and determination.
So that's kind of like a short-term thing during that, instead of like a long-term underpassage or fencing or whatnot, like a permanent thing. Okay. So just the standard practices. Okay. But yeah, so I was just thinking that, so my question was if it can be looked into a bit because we are an area that's near bodies of water that have species at risk, and it's very important to biodiversity. So, and the environment. So it's something we can hopefully
Yeah, no,
consider in the future.
and I think, but exactly to your point, like not just temporary, like you're talking also like some places put culverts under the highway,
yeah.
some places put fencing. Like, I think like with the delegation that came to the counties, my understanding is the county staff are going to be putting together something like to address, like to respond back to that resident specific to what you're talking about, not just time of construction, but also sort of more longer term, because that resident was actually asking for the speed limit to be reduced.
And
So-
that's something too, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I'll make sure to feed in like the information you gave to the county engineer. And I think at this point, like, let's wait for what they come out of it, and then see, like, is it something that we can apply here at the township, or because it might, there might be some best practices that come out of that might be helpful. And I just don't want. I would suggest this, like having like township staff do it in parallel is probably not the best approach. But it is like, I'm not trying to brush you off. I do it was there was a lot of commentary on the delegation at the county, so it's I think we'll have some good info from staff after that.
Is it recorded?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take a look.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So I think it's been a good meeting, guys. Thanks for, I know we're like guys and gals, I say guys for everybody, but it's been a long meeting, but people have been engaged all the way through. So thank you. Sorry that it goes long. So in terms of scheduling for a next meeting, so I'm gonna go back to Sarah on when do you think you would like commentary on your calendar?
Oh, we can go end of September, early October.
Okay. So
And we can give a report on the Hazardous Waste Day, and Colleen and stuff. You can tell everyone how great it was.
oh, that's a great idea.
And what we
How-
missed out on.
There you go. I'll make you feel jealous. In terms of in terms of report, do we get that pretty quick? Like, I know we get data, but I don't know if that stuff that we're generating in the moment, or do we have to wait for the contractor to give us stuff afterwards?
They give us, they give us their basically their tonnage that they collect pretty immediately. And we usually have the report ready like the following week. Like, I think it's a fairly quick turnaround.
Okay. So then do we want to do but the 27th, that would be too quick. If it's on the 24th, the 27th likely too quick. So
That's a little too quick.
So like the 4th, would that work? Or do we want to do the 11th? Because we're still good on Tuesdays are still our preferred nights, right?
I can't do the 11th. Excuse me, we have council that night.
Okay.
The
So-
10th is Thanksgiving.
Yes, thank you for the reminder. So 4th or 18th?
I'm good either.
Yeah, 4th works if we think we get the report back.
Yeah, I'm good either of those days.
Okay. Okay, is staff's good with the 4th? Okay, great. So 5 p.m. Awesome. Okay. Thank you, everyone. So like I said, I'll do up a letter and I'll circulate it to, summarizing the points that we brought up specific to the waste recycling strategy document, so that can go to council as soon as possible. Okay, so thank you everyone. If I can have a motion to adjourn. Oh, people want to stay? No one's giving me a motion to.
Mike did.
I'll move it.
Did you? Thank you. Thank you. Is anyone opposed?
Yeah, I want to stay on here forever.
I know you love the environment, Angie.
I do actually want to stay on when we're done here.
Okay, great.
For a
All right,
couple of people. Yeah.
okay, sounds good. All right, well, thank you, everyone. So that will adjourn the meeting. So we'll see everyone back on.